All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to RickCast. It is a wonderful Thursday night, the 22nd of May, 2025. I hope everybody's having a wonderful night. Just literally running back in from the theater. And I'd like to thank Mission Impossible for having a 3-hour runtime. Spoiler alert, not really worth 3 hours. I really wanted to like the film. Not worth the 3 hours that was promised. So yeah, little frustrated at that, but it is what it is, and nothing is working right now either. So that's okay. Like I had all my stories and everything on X, and X doesn't work because Elon Musk is too busy running around creating baby mamas. So he can't actually have his website work, or he's got a bunch of Indians doing it and they're too busy hawking up the system and not actually making it function correctly because they're too busy spamming each other. But yes, we have a good show for you tonight. I'm looking forward to it. Something just seems off with the camera. That's why I'm kind of like, I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that I'm running late. So this is going to be as quick of a show as I can make it. Because we are running real close back to back with news from the Pew at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. So we are going to kind of speed run this show tonight. I always promise you guys that I give you a show and I deliver. We are going to do a show tonight, and we are going to talk about some stuff out there. So without further waiting, we will get into tonight's episode here. Let me get the share screen up. And what are we doing? Like, what are you doing? I don't know. Like, what is this? What are we doing? Golly, God forbid anything works well the first time. It just has to give me, oh, allow this, allow that. Can I just use the software, please? I'd like to just use the software, please. That's it. Thank you. That's much better. Here we go. That's not what we're talking about. First one up comes to us from SCOTUS and from the legendary Amy Coney Barrett, who has got to be, without a doubt, the worst thing, worse than COVID, worse than anything else. Amy Coney Barrett is the worst thing to come out of the first Trump administration. And you're reading the headline: divided Supreme Court rules Oklahoma cannot launch a taxpayer-funded religious charter school. If that sounds crazy, well, let's watch a little video, and it can give you a little bit better background than what I can give you.
Because the Supreme Court has just released a major decision concerning government funding of religious charter schools. The ruling could reshape how taxpayer money is now used to fund education across the U.S. Let's get straight to ABC's Devin Dwyer. Devin, your first reaction.
Well, the Supreme Court here, Kira, surprising many observers in a deadlock vote, 4-4, because Justice Amy Coney Barrett, herself a Catholic, recused herself from this case from Oklahoma, in which the Catholic Archdiocese was seeking to put online the nation's first taxpayer-funded religious charter school, explicitly a Catholic school under the Oklahoma Charter Program. And the Supreme Court, because it was deadlocked today, Kira, effectively is letting lower court rulings stand. The lower courts in this case had found that creating taxpayer-funded charter schools would violate the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment, and therefore this is a big blow to those efforts to expand religious freedom and religious education in this country, Kira.
Yeah, so I know G Money's saying, what choice do you have? There are other, when this was coming about, there were other choices. There were other choices. I know for a fact there was one out of Florida. There was a district judge out of Florida. I know I profiled her a couple times. People were saying she was a much better choice than Amy Coney Barrett. But the fact of the matter is, he had to choose a woman, but he chose possibly the worst female to do this. I don't know. Ever since Amy Coney Barrett sided with the majority on overturning Roe v. Wade, she has been a shell of her former self, as far as she just doesn't want to get into it. She's scared. She's scared of the mob, and she does not want to actually rule the correct way because she doesn't want to face the repercussions. Like Brett Kavanaugh almost got unalived because somebody flew across the country to do it. And she's afraid. She's a woman. She doesn't want to have this taken care of or have this burden. 2024, the Oklahoma Supreme Court upheld the decision blocking the Catholic Church's plan to establish a virtual school named St. Isidore of Seville, ruling that it conflicted with constitutional and state legal provisions. Ruling followed a June 2023 state board approval, an attorney general lawsuit citing the Establishment Clause concerning state interest and separation. Case involved the debate over religious charter schools, school choice of advocacy, and the Steve, can you not like do this right now, buddy? I'm in the middle of a show, homie. Now I got to reset the entire segment. Yeah, it's just I'm trying not to complain, guys, but it's just a lot. It's just a lot with this stuff. Anyway, what was I talking about before that happened? Yeah, we were reading this. So the Supreme Court's 4-4 deadlock that prevented a national precedent. The Supreme Court vote split evenly 4-4 with Justice Amy Coney Barrett absent and potentially decisive, leaving Oklahoma ruling intact without written opinion. The outcome blocks Oklahoma from establishing the nation's first taxpayer-funded religious public charter school and leaves the legal question unresolved nationally. So because Amy Coney Barrett doesn't have principles, or she's too afraid of exercising said principles, now we don't have a decision on this. And so it's kind of sad to see that, only because the left doesn't do this stuff. The left doesn't do this stuff. It doesn't recuse itself from these situations. It doesn't remove itself from these situations. It will rule no matter what. Think about this. Under Obergefell, I think RBG and Sonia Sotomayor both officiated quote-unquote same-sex weddings. Yet they didn't feel that they needed to recuse themselves because they just didn't feel the need to. They're like, yeah, we're not doing it. We're just not going to do it. And so they stayed in, they made the decision, they decided that they were going to make this call, yet Amy Coney Barrett can't. She doesn't want to. She's recusing herself because she's Catholic. Yeah, Lou, it's a great question. I don't think she's in somebody's pocket. I think she's scared. I really think she's actually quite scared of the mob. She's very afraid. After joining the justices in Roe v. Wade, the way she's judged has been in fear of what the mob will think of her. And that's crazy. 4-4, which means I'm guarantee you Roberts sided with the liberals because there's 3 liberals. So one had to cross over. It's got to be Roberts. It had to be Roberts who let me see if SCOTUS blog actually has the actual who's who as far as which ones actually voted which way. The big thing is Amy Coney Barrett didn't. The order did not indicate any of the justice okay. She did not state why she did not participate, but the charter school was represented in the Supreme Court by the Religious Liberty Clinic at Notre Dame's law school. So not only did Amy Coney Barrett, a Catholic, not jump in there, Notre Dame, Our Lady's law school, represented the state. I mean, what are you doing here? It's just absolutely crazy how this stuff goes. So very interesting. I know. Well, that's why you should only pick men. That's why there should only be male Supreme Court justices. You know, even Kavanaugh, his brain is fried from his hearing. Every once in a while, he makes the right call. Think about it. All Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, Alito, and Thomas probably all ruled in favor of this charter school. And John Roberts joined It's either John Roberts joined the liberals or Kavanaugh joined the liberals. One of those two did it, which is why you don't have a 6-3 majority, as everybody likes to talk about, and everybody wants to go to SCOTUS so bad. And my question to them is always, why do you want to go to SCOTUS so bad? It's not exactly, it's not in your favor, and this is why. I'm showing it right here. Pretty sad in that regard, but this is RickCast. Thank you guys so much for waiting for me. I'm sorry the show is not as high quality as it usually is. It's just, trying to everybody's like, oh, you should do movie reviews and stuff like that. People don't understand if you're not getting paid to do it. And this is not me complaining. This is the mechanics of it. If you don't get paid to do it, it is a super pain in the ass. And I apologize for cussing, to fit it into a schedule where you're trying to do everything else and try to do your other shows. And tomorrow morning, I can't go tomorrow because I'm doing an LTC class on Friday. And so sometimes it's just, I enjoy doing it, but it's just ridiculous the ways. And like X isn't even working. X, I can't even pull video and stuff like that like I usually do. I was lucky to get that first video clip because nothing on X is working right now, because it's a crappy website. Let's just be real. It's a piece of trash website, and it's operating as it is. So it is what it is in that regard. Anyway, let's look at our second story of the day. I'm going to stop complaining because you guys are a great audience, and you don't want to hear me complain because guess what? I'm just sitting behind a computer complaining, and I'm super glad and super happy that you're there. And I'm not complaining, just a little fried. And that's my problem, not yours. I appreciate you guys being here. Don't take that as complaining. I'm not. Let's get to our second story today. We're talking about the fact that things are getting spicy right now, right? Things are getting spicy. Between Luigi Mangione and the Tesla tax and everything else, we are in for a pretty aggressive summer. And last night we had yet another example of something like that happening. Regardless of the nationality of the person or the religious background of the person, you still had people being attacked and or targeted here in these United States. And it's kind of crazy that that's how it's going. And so let's see here. I don't have any actual video of the news story because I can't pull anything up because X isn't working. But let's get you some actual information here. Let's see. Second story of the day from these are all from Ground News. Two Israeli embassy staffers were attacked in an anti-Semitic shooting outside a DC Jewish museum. Like I said, whatever you think about the people's nationality, the religion, whatever the case may be, there still is the idea, there still is the possibility, there still is the thought process that we live here in these United States, and you should be free from violence. You should be free from violence and free from terror as far as, hey, you should be able to walk out your door without facing death. That's a pretty standard thing to want and to believe in. And in this case, most people are not. People are starting to become really worried about this kind of stuff. So on Wednesday evening, two employees of the Israeli embassy, Yaron Lechisky and Sarah Milgram, were fatally wounded outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. The attack followed their exit from an event at the museum and involved suspect Elias Rodriguez, who was seen pacing before opening fire and has been detained by event security. Rodriguez, a 31-year-old from Chicago, shouted free Palestine, and he is in custody and indicted as he committed and indicated he committed the shooting using a handgun he revealed to officers. Israeli embassy letter said the couple was engaged to be married, with the ring recently being purchased. Okay, yada, yada, yada. The shooting underscores the rising anti-Semitism amid heightened tensions from the ongoing Israeli-Hamas conflict. Now, you can believe whether it's anti-Semitism or not, and the attack was based on that. Does that have a part to play? Probably. I wouldn't go right to it. But for a guy to come from Chicago to DC, there's got to be to target those two people individually, or maybe he was just looking for the first two people that were coming out of the museum. I don't know, but it's a lot to jump to that. What I'm trying to get at is this is going to be a spicy summer, and the engagements that people are having back and forth about these kinds of things is only ratcheting up the tension. Take a look.
As you go forward with what you have seen, can you give us any sense, because you said you looked the shooter in the eyes, can you give us any sense of what you saw in him as he was sort of getting help and people were tending to him as if he too was a victim of seeing this?
Yeah, well, to be clear, I heard about that part because we were in a secure room when he initially walked in. I just saw him screaming and then being handcuffed. But what I saw in his eyes, I mean, I went to Columbia for grad school, and I saw the same thing in his eyes as I saw in the eyes of all the protesters at Columbia. Nothing different between him and them.
But they did not create this horrific shooting. They did not, they didn't shoot.
They gave permission. They gave the permission. And they've called for this. They have called for intifada revolution, which is the same thing he yelled last night.
Do you worry that there will be a conflation, though, of the two, those people who are speaking their mind, who really care about what is happening in Gaza, and those people who are like this person who did this horrific shooting, who intend to do harm?
A conflation. I mean, they are calling for intifada. At Columbia University, they call for intifada constantly. They're not quietly, they're loud. They're loud. You can hear it. They make recordings of themselves. So what's the difference?
At the risk of sounding anti-Semitic, which I am not, we've had discussions that speech is protected speech. And just because somebody calls out for it, it's the same thing that YouTubers run into all the time, as in, if somebody says something and then a viewer goes out and acts on what they said, that YouTuber or that podcaster or whoever it is not responsible for that person's actions. So the fact that there are protests, unless you can find a direct correlation to that, for me, it's a little hard to draw a through line there.
Yes.
We're all afraid.
Everyone should be afraid.
What are you doing to try to make yourself feel safer?
Well, you just go on and live your life. I'm a New Yorker. I remember 9/11. You can't let them make you be afraid. You have to go on. You have to live your life, and hopefully your government does things to protect you. Last night, our government failed us.
Jonathan Epstein, I know that they're going forward with this.
So that's also a lot of, the idea that the government needs to protect them, and this is the result of protesters. And all I'm saying, I'm putting in the same barrel of stuff, whether it's Luigi Mangione, the Tesla shootings, this stuff, attacks on people. The overall temperature in the union is very warm, and I think if you're in a place that you can, I advise you to obtain a firearm legally and get as much training as one can, because I think the summer is going to be very spicy, and The government will not protect you. This guy, I don't know what he's thinking. The government's job is not to protect you. SCOTUS, we have SCOTUS precedent that tells him that. But it's not looking good as far as moving or bringing down the temperature in the room with these people. I think it's only going to get worse as the country becomes more frayed. All right, let's get to our next story of the night. This comes to us once again from Ground News. Senate votes to block California's rule banning the sale of new gas-powered cars by 2035. The Senate voted on Thursday to block California's rule banning new gas-powered vehicles by 2035, sending the resolution to the White House. Republicans regained Senate majority and used a simple majority vote process to reject state EPA waivers that enable California's strict vehicle electric mandate. Governor Gavin Newsom, along with environmental regulators in California, have declared the congressional move unlawful and indicated they plan to file a lawsuit to uphold the state's emission regulations. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said the mandate affects the entire country, while Senate Democratic leaders Chuck Schumer called blocking the rules a point of no return. The Senate's decision challenges California's significant influence on emission reductions and vehicle market trends, risking setbacks to national. I don't really care about any of that ground. Don't give me that nonsense. Shocking bit of news. I actually agree with Gavin Newsom. If California wants to ban the sale of cars, of gas-powered cars, let them suffer the consequences. I don't know what to tell you. I don't want the federal government overriding it or setting it in there and blah, 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 blah. I know it's not a popular opinion because we don't want, California's a bunch of hippie dippy morons that don't know what they're doing, but still, the fact of the matter is California, under federalism, has the right to do so. They do. They absolutely do. And to step over that with federal quote-unquote authority, the EPA shouldn't exist. The Republicans shouldn't be fighting to maintain EPA waivers. The Republicans should be like, fine, California, if you want to do that stupid nonsense, go do that stupid nonsense. We're not going to stop you. You need to repeal the powers of the EPA. All this does is reinforce them. It reinforces them to the nth degree, and it's ridiculous. So, maybe an unpopular opinion, but I think this is an overstep. I think this is an overreach by the Republican Senate. They should be working on things to deregulate, not support and reinforce government, intervention. And the EPA is a tyrannical organization that infringes on everyday lives of individuals for no good reason except to quote unquote protect the environment. And if, once again, I'll finish up on this. California can make decisions for Californians. And they voted for this legislation through the election of their state representatives. They voted for it. Don't stop them. Well, Rick, what about the long term? I don't care. Let them do whatever they do. I don't care. It's fine. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. All right. This is RickCast. Do me one favor, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Like I said, this is going to be a quick show because I just got back and I got to get a little time in before News from the Pew starts a little later than usual. It looks like Steve's trying to tell me that we're running late, so I guess we're gonna start a little later than usual, which is fine. It doesn't matter. Anyway, let's get to the last story of the day. It'll work itself out. Let's see here. Last story of the day. This we'll end on a fun note. We'll end on a good note here. Not those. As you can see, I've been looking for brand new holsters, and that's why that ad is there. But report: Disney and ABC executives are asking The View hosts to tone down Trump bashing, which is kind of funny that they are stepping in to do that. They're the executives at Disney. It looks like Bob Iger is trying to make inroads or extending out an olive branch to the Trump administration because he sees that the last 7-8 years of, TDS and Orange Man Bad and all these other kinds of things has not been profitable. And The View, especially with Sunny Holston in particular, and that idiot, whatever her name is, the former Republican John McCain rep or whatever, they have been damaging to the brand, to discourse in general. Yeah, Iger's on his way out, and he's trying to clean the edges of his legacy, which are already completely trashed. That's a good point, Lou. But it's interesting. So Bob Iger is essentially telling the ladies of The View to calm down. I don't know how that's going to work. Executives with Disney and ABC have reportedly asked The View host to tone down their bashing of President Donald Trump and the political rhetoric overall. While The View hosts have never shied away from bashing Trump and Republicans in general, executives within the company have reportedly grown weary with the show's overemphasis on politics, feeling it has strayed from the original inception as a talk show for women, which it has. It's just become, a bunch of chickens screeching for an hour and not really making any sense. Let's see. According to the Daily Beast, two sources confirmed that Disney CEO Bob Iger and ABC News president Almid Karamekovich recently held a meeting with The View host and executive producer Brian Tenna to ask them to shift the controversy away from politics. Karamenovich highlighted the episodes with celebrity guests, and he said were highly rated. One source said, and encouraged them to lean into such coverage moving forward. Pretty much stay in your lane. While Iger and Karamenovich did not go far to demand change, the suggestion still upset a host. That's her, Anna Navarro. She's the dumb, she's the idiot. Anna Navarro thinks that they tune in for a political perspective. This is what the audience wants. She's Hispanic. Isn't it going to look kind of bad if we're all of a sudden not talking about politics? Not really. Because your political opinions suck. They're terrible. And I know I'm cursing too much tonight, and I apologize. Your political opinions are poo-poo. Other hosts found the suggestion silly and vowed to keep doing their thing. During the Disney Upfront presentation to advertisers last week, Navarro reportedly confronted Iger about the suggestion. This is how you get fired. I don't know how these people think that they're above getting fired. Why? Because you're women? If I was Iger, first of all, I wouldn't be in this situation, but I'd be like, change the way you do the show or you're fired. It's that simple. It's not for discrimination. I'm asking you to do this, but you're not. So let's see. Another source familiar with the matter said ABC will constantly have conversations with talent based on viewer feedback, blah, blah, blah. Executives asking The View to tone down the political rhetoric comes months after the hosts were forced to issue several legal notes for exaggerated statements about Trump's cabinet picks on air. This comes after CBS News and its parent company, Paramount Global, have been working to reach a settlement with the president for alleged election interference. So Iger's trying to A, polish up his legacy, and B, try to avoid future lawsuits from President Trump because this idiot over here, Sunny, just fires off without any real idea of what she's talking about. So not a shock there. And hopefully the ladies can take the suggestion to calm it down, calm it down. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for this episode of RickCast. I told you it was going to be a quick one. And now I'm going to take a little bit of break, grab some dinner before News from the Pew starts. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow night, or I'll see you in a little bit on the News from the Pew channel with Steve Cunningham. If I don't see you in a couple minutes, I'll see you tomorrow night here on RickCast for Friday, the 23rd of May, 2024. If you're following the RickCast account, RickCast Reviews, I'll have my review up for Mission Impossible tomorrow around 10 a.m. For you guys to check out. I will talk to you guys tomorrow or later on tonight. God bless, and until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.